Close your eyes and imagine the year 480 BC. The world was very different then. Ancient Greece was not a single country, but a collection of city-states, each with its own customs, rulers, and armies. Among them, Sparta stood out, a society built on discipline, strength, and the art of war. Across the sea, a vast empire was rising. Persia, ruled by King Xerxes, stretched across lands so wide that no single eye could take it all in. It was the largest empire the world had ever known, and Xerxes wanted Greece. This is the story of a small band of warriors, led by a king, who chose to stand in the face of impossible odds. The story of Leonidas and his 300 Spartans at the Pass of Thermopylae. Before the clash, we must understand the scale of Persia's power. The empire stretched from modern-day Turkey to India, from the mountains of Afghanistan to the deserts of Egypt. Its wealth was beyond imagining. Gold, silver, silk, spices, all flowed into its capital. Xerxes inherited this empire from his father, Darius, who had already tried once to conquer Greece and failed. Xerxes wanted to succeed where his father had fallen short. For him, Greece was not only about land, it was about pride, legacy, and domination. So he gathered an army, not thousands, not tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands. Ancient historians speak of numbers like 2 million, though modern scholars suggest closer to 1 or 200,000. Either way, it was a force Greece had never seen before. Meanwhile, in Greece, word spread of the Persian advance. Fear gripped the people, for how could small city-states resist such a flood? Athens, known for its ships and democracy, began building a navy. But Sparta relied on its warriors. From birth, Spartan boys were trained to fight. They were taken from their families at age 7, placed in the agog, a brutal system of discipline, survival, and combat training. By adulthood, a Spartan was not simply a soldier, he was a weapon. When the Greek city-states gathered to discuss their defense, it was agreed. Someone had to hold the narrow pass of Thermopylae, the hot gates, where mountains squeezed the land into a tight corridor. There, Persia's numbers would count for less. King Leonidas volunteered, and with him, 300 Spartans, not the full army, but his personal guard. Warriors who had sons to carry on their names, for they did not expect to return. Picture the scene. The 300 Spartans, shields gleaming in the sun, cloaks of crimson flowing as they marched north. Along the way, they were joined by allies, men from Thespiae, Thebes, and other Greek cities, swelling their numbers to about 7,000. Villagers along the route whispered in awe as they passed. Children watched from doorways. For these men were going not to survive, but to stand as a wall against the tide. When the Persians arrived, the earth trembled under their feet. Rows upon rows of soldiers, cavalry, archers, and war chariots stretched beyond sight. And at the center, Xerxes himself, seated on a golden throne, confident of victory. He sent a messenger to Leonidas, demanding the Spartans lay down their weapons. Leonidas gave a reply that would echo through history. Molon labe, come and take them. The battle opened with waves of Persian infantry charging into the narrow pass. But the Spartans fought in phalanx formation, shields locked, spears thrusting forward. The Persians fell by the hundreds. Again and again, Xerxes sent his men. And again, they broke upon the Spartan wall. Even the feared immortals, Persia's elite guard, could not break through. For 2 days, the Greeks held strong. But on the third, disaster struck. A local man named Ephialtes betrayed them, revealing a hidden mountain path that bypassed the pass. Xerxes seized the chance, sending troops to circle behind the defenders. Leonidas knew the end had come. He dismissed most of the Greek allies, sparing their lives, but chose to remain with his 300 Spartans, along with 700 Thespians and a handful of Thebans. They would stand to the last. The air was heavy with smoke and the cries of battle. Leonidas fought at the front, his spear broken, his sword flashing. Spartans fought with hands, with daggers, even with teeth when weapons shattered. One by one, they fell. Leonidas himself was slain, his body fought over by friend and foe alike. At last, overwhelmed, the final defenders were killed, their bodies forming a wall of defiance, even in death. Thermopylae was lost, but the sacrifice was not in vain. The stand of the 300 bought precious time for Greece. It inspired unity among the city-states. Months later, at the battles of Salamis and Plataea, the Greeks struck back, and the Persian invasion was turned away. The story of Thermopylae lived on, told by poets, carved into monuments, whispered around fires. Not as a tale of defeat, but of courage. Of a handful of men who faced the impossible and stood unbroken in spirit. And so, as you drift to sleep, remember the pass of Thermopylae. Remember the sound of shields clashing, the red cloaks in the wind, the defiant words of a king who would not bow. For in the quiet of history, their voices still echo, freedom is worth any cost.